Good morning. Thank you for joining us at the National Bicycle Dealers Association. We are excited to be partnering with Retail Toolkit today to offer you a presentation on how to connect with your customers during this time. So we have Jason Windsor here from Retail Toolkit. Jason, take it away.
Hi, thank you, Rochelle. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm really pleased and honored that you would take time out of your day to tag along, and really hope that you're able to use some of the knowledge that we share today to take back to your store. Obviously, we're in a very weird time right now. Things are upside down and have been for a couple months, and some of you I know have actually been experiencing huge sales during this time, breaking sales records, and just want to provide some ways that we have found, and that some of our retail customers have related back to us, that they are staying connected with a lot of those new customers. Those new customers that have shopped with you in these last 2 months have a lot of potential to become lifetime customers, and we really want to help find ways to advise that you can make that happen on top of the strategies you're already implementing based on your experience. So, you may be asking yourself, what this webinar is about. Very generally, I wanted to focus on a few channels, and we'll discuss channels like email marketing, social media, and video. But I wanted to reiterate that the through line during this entire conversation is about relationship. The channels exist to facilitate relationship. That might sound obvious, and it might be obvious, but I think a lot of marketers like me tend to forget that when we're talking about social media and email and video, and we want to make sure that, or I want to make sure that as I'm communicating the benefits and the strategies behind these channels, that we keep coming back to these channels are vehicles for relationship. They are not the end-all marketing thing in and of themselves. And so as you hear me talk about the channels, please keep that in the back of your mind. I'll try to refer back to it as much as possible. But keep in mind that is what all of these strategies are about, is building on that initial purchase, building it into a relationship, getting to know them as a customer, and them getting to know you as a brand, and developing that relationship so that they become lifelong customers, and that they don't end up buying their next bike at the big box store like maybe they did prior to the crisis and visiting your store. So what is Retail Toolkit? Just wanted to kick that off, just set the stage for what we're talking about. This will be the only time I really talk about it. We are a cloud-based customer experience management platform. We integrate with retail stores' point-of-sale systems to offer reporting and insights into their business, using transaction data to give retailers much more power to make decisions in their business and for their business with as much information as possible, and trying to help them get away from only using gut feeling and intuition, which we believe that those are important, but we also know that data can augment that intuition. It can reinforce that intuition, or sometimes it can contradict that intuition, and allow retailers to make better decisions based on both their experience and the data coming from their point of sale system, like transaction data, and purchase histories. We are a platform, a suite of tools that include sales and traffic reporting, inventory, and open to buy. That's using algorithms to make purchasing recommendations based on projected need for product. Staff scheduling and payroll. We can use our sales and traffic data to help guide retailers to understand when they should schedule employees, so that you don't have too many employees on the floor or not enough, and then customers aren't being properly served. We also offer email marketing tool that allows you to use transactions to trigger emails to customers on an individual basis, and that can be automated. And we also have a rewards tool built in, so that you can offer a loyalty program that has a mobile app associated with it that's white labeled for your business. And then who am I? So why do I think that I have the right to speak to you today? And I don't know that this can answer that, but I'll try. I've been doing digital and traditional marketing since 2003, uh, and have served a lot of businesses, not only as a full-time employee, but also as a consultant. Everything from yoga instructors working out of the rooms over the garages, all the way up to multinational billion-dollar corporations. And for the last 6 years, I've been doing retail-specific marketing, and for just over a year now, I've been part of the Retail Toolkit team. I personally specialize in creative media marketing, which would include things like graphic design and advertising and video. And I've been honored to work with a lot of clients, especially in the realm of video. And those clients have seen over 9 million views on YouTube across some of the projects that we've done together. And that brings a smile to my face. I'm really glad that I was able to bring some value to them in that space. So again, relationship is more important than channels. Or I believe that 100%. As much as I want to know about the social media channels and the ways to get to your audience, those are just vehicles, and relationship is the most important thing. And when we talk about how to connect with customers during a time where they can't necessarily come into your store, at least not as easily as they could before. There's not those natural, what we call collisions, and collisions being a positive thing. Someone comes into your store or walks by your store and they're curious and they walk in. Those naturally built-in everyday collisions don't happen the way that they did, prior to March. And so we have to find ways to reach out to those existing customers, new customers, and future customers to create lifetime customers out of them and create lifelong fans out of them. And that is only going to happen from a relationship. And relationship happens when you tell your story. What is the story behind not only your store and your business, but also you as a retailer, your employees, the products that you offer, the events you're having? Each of those things has a narrative that, when put into context and created consistently across your brand, can deepen that relationship. And then again, telling your story is only half of the conversation. The other half is hearing your customer's story. And by that, I don't necessarily mean sitting down and listening to the life story of each individual customer, but rather listening to what your customer base is trying to tell you. What are they trying to tell you about themselves? What are they trying to tell you about their perception of your store, or of your brand, or of the products you sell, or of the employees that you hire? And having that conversation back and forth with them. And again, doing it authentically. This is not the time to be creative necessarily, and try to come up with a more epic tale than what already exists. This is the time to tell that story in a way that accurately represents who you are, and the entirety of who you are. Because again, we're talking about a relationship, and that relationship has to be built on trust and on honesty. And again, how you implement that is going to be dependent on what your story is. But I want to encourage you to make sure that you are practicing authenticity when you do that, and you're encouraging authenticity back from your customer base. So, let's talk about some of the channels as promised. And these are statistics and recommendations that are great takeaways. They look good on a slide, but again, these have to be right for your business. So my position is not to advocate that you immediately start using all of these channels right now. What I want you to do is either look at the channels that you're already using and maybe analyze them to make sure you're using them in the best way, and then decide what are some new channels we might be willing to take on. Why would we take those on? Why might we prioritize them? And then approach them intelligently, rather than diving in head first necessarily, which I have seen cause harm to the brand when people just start posting things without really coming up with a strategy first. So email marketing is something we are deeply familiar with at Retail Toolkit. Our email marketing tool allows retailers to email customers in a very specific, personalized, segmented way based on things they've bought. And we'll get to how that can work in a little bit. And obviously, our tool is not necessary to make that happen. We are one of the offerings for that. We believe we're one of the better ones, and of course we do. But I don't want to pretend that we are the only source of this kind of functionality. But to look at the benefits of email marketing, if you didn't already know, the email marketing is one of the highest ROI strategies you can implement. The figures kind of differ, but we're talking about almost $40 in return for every dollar spent on email marketing. A lot of that comes from email marketing is not really that expensive compared to digital advertising or TV ads or newspaper ads. There are even free options out there if you have a small enough audience and send few enough emails. But across the industry, businesses see generally about a $40 return on investment for every dollar spent on email marketing, and that's because there can be actionable steps taken by simply clicking in an email. If you've got a TV ad or a newspaper ad or a local magazine ad, it's really hard to take action based on that. They might have to write down a URL or try to remember where they saw that product that they thought looked good, and the friction and the obstacles to getting from seeing the ad to taking the action that you want them to take is extremely high. But with email marketing, you create a button, you create a link, and they can immediately take that action. You can include data in the URL of that link that would report back to you what campaign it was that resulted in a sale, what segment. That's a little bit more power user stuff, and we can talk about that in another conversation. But I just want to impress upon you that when done well, email marketing can be hugely beneficial. And one of the main reasons people like it is that you own it. Your email marketing list and your campaigns are completely within your control. Obviously, you have to abide by spam regulations and the terms of service that you agree to with the email service that you use, but the content and the delivery and the times of delivery are completely within your control. That's not true for a lot of social media. Social media, they're trying to game the timeline or game the algorithm. You may have noticed if you post something on your Facebook page that 10 people see it. You have 10,000 fans, but only 10 people saw it. Why is that? There's a lot of reasons behind that, or at least Facebook gives a lot of reasons for that. But with email marketing, that's not a concern. When you say, I want that email sent at 1 p.m., then it's sent at 1 p.m. and the recipient receives it immediately after, and then they can make a decision to engage or not. But at least it was delivered the way that you intended. And again, if you have an e-commerce solution, 2/3 of customers have made a purchase via e-commerce directly from an email that they received from that brand. And a lot of people sign up for email lists prior to becoming customers, and as you can see, they're 40 times more likely to come actually shop for the first time in your store than if they saw you on Facebook or Twitter, or Facebook and Twitter combined. So again, email marketing has huge potential, and how do we unlock that potential? So we want to increase engagement. Engagement is the singular most important thing with email marketing. Engagement includes open rate and click-through rate. And obviously those things would be extremely important when you've gone to the trouble of making an email campaign. And so the first thing would be personalization. You might be sending a monthly email newsletter. We know a lot of our customers that was their strategy prior to getting to know our tools. And I don't have necessarily anything against that. I just know that there's a lot of potential for higher engagement when we come up with a more deliberate strategy over the course of a month to send those emails rather than simply blasting the entire mailing list. And one of those ways we do that is through personalization. Almost every email marketing tool has the ability to include what are called variable data fields inside the subject and body of the email. That field may be the recipient's first name. It might be the last product they bought from you if your email is connected to your point of sale. It might be interests that they've listed in a checklist, maybe the kinds of cycling that they're interested. Maybe they want to do a single track or road bikes. Those categories can help you personalize email marketing directly to their interests, rather than, again, the wide e-blasts that, our evidence shows that those e-blasts are well received generally, but they have really low open rates because they add to the noise. The average person receives 121 emails a day. And so if you're sending an email that is meant for your entire customer list, there's not enough personalization to compel them to open it. It can become like just more noise. And so we're trying to create a signal to noise ratio that increases the message you want that individual person to see without including things that they don't need to see. So if they are fans of single track and don't need to see, hybrids, then there's not much reason to include hybrids in that messaging, even if there's a promotion on hybrids. So I'm going to skip to the bottom. That's where segmentation becomes important. The last point here, personalization and segmentation are two sides of the same coin. Personalization allows us to segment. By knowing the data we have on those customers, we can break them up into groups that allows us to deliver a much more powerful, simple message to each individual group. And that can be done with variable data fields as well. It's possible in many email marketing services to personalize the entire body of the email based on maybe a category of cycling that they like, or a past purchase. So I would encourage you to look into that. If that's that might sound a little bit complex, and it can be, but a lot of modern email marketing tools have figured out ways to make it very simple and easy to understand. So if that's not something you're looking into, I would encourage you to do that. And then powerful subject lines. There are actually tools online that you can type in your subject line and it will analyze it for clarity, for how have subject lines that use these same words in the past resulted in higher open rates. So I'd encourage you to maybe try to find a tool like that you like and test out your subject lines. That's the very first impression of that email that everyone gets. They're going to decide if they're going to open that email or not based on who they're receiving it from and that subject line. And so those subject lines just become extremely important. And that's what most email marketing consultants will tell you is the secret sauce to increasing engagement. And then we've also learned that including emojis can increase open rates big time. When you're looking at a field of text in your email inbox, that emoji becomes kind of like a dashboard light blinking at you. It can really attract attention in a way that simple text may not be able to. And there are emojis for cycling and for bikes and bike riders and all those I've seen included in a lot of bike retail emails. Obviously, simplicity. I know the tendency is we're reaching out to our customer. Let's stuff this email with as much as we can. Let's show every offer, every bit of news, every update, every event, every link, everything we can think of. Because if I'm only going to email them once this month, I want to include as much as possible. And the data shows us that people just don't engage with the information in an email as much when it's this endless scrolling email that they have to skim and figure out where's the valuable information that only I need in this email. So again, that comes back to segmentation. And then once we've done that, let's keep the headline, very simple, clear headline, simple, clear body text, and a button that is easy to understand and makes me want to click it. Having one single call to action in that email that might be get directions to the store, or visit our online store, or watch this video, or attend this event, that's going to result in a much higher engagement rate than an email that has a lot of options for action that they can take, and then it becomes overwhelming, and then they've moved on. They're on to the next email, and they might even promise themselves to come back to it, and they rarely do. And so I would encourage you to look at your open rates for email campaigns that might have been broadly sent to your entire customer base or your entire mailing list, and decide, is this method really worth continuing? If I'm only seeing a 3 or 4 or 5% open rate, when I know that segmented personalized emails can achieve 50-60% open rates and higher, it might encourage you to switch up your strategy a little bit. And the last thing here would be automation. This is how you can implement this entire strategy without spending every morning at your computer creating emails. You create the emails once. They can be triggered by an action at point of sale, like buying a certain SKU, and these can be sent every time someone buys that SKU, and the robot is doing the work for you. That's the big thing with marketing right now, is there are a lot of intelligent ways to automate almost every part of marketing communications. Let's put the robot to work for us. And not simply because it's easier and it takes less time, but because it actually does have a higher ROI. Again, these automated emails have a 3 times higher open rate, which is huge. And a lot of that comes from that email was triggered by an individual's action, and the email is being sent to that individual, so it's got built-in personalization. So I don't want to belabor that point, but I would encourage you to really take a look at your email marketing strategy and look at those reports, look at the open rates and click-through rates, and decide, is this way of doing this going to continue to be worthwhile if these rates are low, and maybe explore new ways to do it. I wanted to touch on a few social media channels, and not simply talk about the channels because presumably you know about them, but I wanted to show new ways that you could use some of these. So for one, Facebook. Presumably you have a Facebook page for your store. I think Bicycle Retailer said that 98% of bike shops right now have a Facebook page. So that's great. So what I want to encourage you to do, since we don't need to talk about Facebook page, let's talk about Facebook Live. Facebook Live, as I'm sure you've seen, is simply a live stream of video content from your phone or your computer. And it can be hugely powerful because Facebook is taking on YouTube. Facebook has decided YouTube is the Goliath that they want to take on, and by extension Google, and they want to become the video, the source for social video. And so Facebook's algorithm has been programmed to take into account, is this a pre-recorded Facebook video or is this a live Facebook video? And in doing so, they are promoting live Facebook videos at a much higher rate than pre-recorded videos, and definitely more than images or text posts. So if you have a Facebook page and you're just doing text-based posts with occasional photos and maybe a video every once in a while, then I would encourage you to shift your focus toward a more pre-recorded video, and definitely Facebook Live. And I would even think about it maybe on a regular basis, maybe do a show once a week with new products, or answering questions. And again, a lot of the things that I'm talking about here are things that can be done during a time when customers cannot physically be in your store, or they can only be in limited numbers. And now that you've captured that new customer because of bike availability or product availability, we want to continue that relationship with them past that first sale, so that they make a second, third, and on. And Facebook Live is a great way to do that. You can have Facebook Lives where you answer very basic questions about your bikes, your products. How do I fit a bike? How do I fit a helmet? And that allows people who might be new to the sport to engage with your store without feeling overwhelmed or intimidated. Uh, Bike shops, for some people, can be intimidating because they're so specialized and they have employees that uh, are so into cycling, which is great. But for someone who's brand new, they might feel a little bit intimidated by that. And so um, using something like Facebook Live to answer questions, to interact with those potential customers or those new customers can be a really great way to alleviate that fear and intimidation. And like I said, it sort of, people talk about the Facebook algorithm like it's this, evil thing. And I get that when you spent time creating a page and creating posts and 4 people see it, that can be really frustrating. And Facebook Live is sort of the marketer's secret way to get around the algorithm. Um, Once you've posted a video on a specific topic or a specific time of day, you can look at the insights and reporting on that video after the fact to say, okay, maybe this topic wasn't as necessary or didn't need to be covered the way we thought. So let's make adjustments the next time. And over the course of time, you can dial in how you present information, what time of day you do that, how long your live video should be. And lastly, a quick tip, we've all seen live videos that kind of have false starts. Okay, let's start. Okay, something's not working. We can't hear you. Let's back out and restart the live stream. And that can be really frustrating for viewers and for your audience. And sometimes it can break the URL that they were watching on and they have to go somewhere else. And again, it's creating obstacles to engaging with you, which means you're going to lose some number of people. And so what I would encourage you to do is use Facebook's Only Me option, which is a way to have something show, as it says, only to you, so that they are not, that's not being broadcast to the world until you're ready for it to do so. And that can be how you dial in audio issues or video issues or anything else. So again, I would encourage you to look at Facebook Live as a way to augment your probably already existing Facebook strategy to reach out to people, especially during a time when engaging in a store is not going to be possible. Instagram, again, you almost certainly have an Instagram. 83% of bike shops, again, according to the Bicycle Retailer, have one. And obviously, continue to post, continue to take pictures of your store and of your products. It's a visual platform. This is your chance to show off interiors and events and product. And one of the things I would encourage you to do is to get as much content as you can from the OEMs. Many of them have already created the beautiful product photos and the promotional videos and the campaigns that they use to sell their product nationally. And nearly every dealer agreement I've seen allows dealers to use that content however they'd like, because obviously it benefits the OEM as well. Distributors might have access to that if you don't. So I would encourage you to reach out and get that content from them, archive it on a computer or on your phone, and be ready to post on a regular basis content from them. That also lowers the barrier to you having to find something to post. So the creation process is simplified for that particular post when all you're doing is taking their content and rebroadcasting it to promote products that you already carry in your store. And lastly, if you haven't looked at what are called shoppable posts or Instagram shopping, I would highly encourage you to do that. What that allows is, in addition to tagging people or product brands in an Instagram post, you can also tag products themselves that link to your e-commerce solution. So tapping on the image can bring up a little pop-up that shows the name of the product and the price, and then they can click it again or tap it again to go to the products page on your e-commerce solution and complete the sale. And a lot of retailers have seen huge success with that when the barrier is so small. And to make that purchase directly from an Instagram post, they don't have to type in your domain on a browser and then find the product they liked. They can go immediately to it. And I know a lot of complaints about Instagram. One of my own complaints is the lack of being able to put links in the captions of the images. And so this is a way around that to get people directly to a product. and there are lots of examples out there I'd be happy to provide of bike shops that are doing that. One of them is Glory Bikes in South Carolina. I think their handle is glory__ bikes, and nearly every post has a link to the product. Obviously, the chances of someone buying a $3,000 bike through an Instagram post is low, but it's not unheard of. You'll probably have more luck with accessories and apparel through that link. So look into that. Again, these are recommendations. Not all of these are going to fit with your particular strategy and business, but I would like to make sure that you're at least aware that they exist. I wanted to throw out a couple other social media platforms that you may be only vaguely familiar with or not familiar with at all. If you feel like you've sort of mastered some of those other platforms, you're already implementing Facebook Live and Instagram shopping, and you're looking for like what's another platform that we can maybe look into. These are, again, very few of them are new. Reddit's not new, Quora's not really new, but TikTok and Visco are relatively new. TikTok is extremely popular with teenagers and 20-somethings. And if you're looking to target that demographic for any reason, then I would encourage you to at least explore TikTok as an option. It's a very creative, fun platform, but a lot of brands are experiencing growth there and building huge audiences there. So just check it out, see what other businesses are doing. Visco is really popular with younger women. If you're trying to target that audience for your products, then you might see Visco as an option for creating a very lifestyle, product-heavy photo stream. Not a lot of functionality for e-commerce or anything like that, but again, it's an option. Quora, I'm really bullish on because, especially with cycling, there is again, there are a lot of people who are new to the sport. They might have questions. Quora is a very popular site for posing questions to the broader user base, and people come forward as experts to answer that question. If you ask a question about a particular bike, you might have an extremely well-known cyclist come in and answer it. And those answers, depending on the credibility of the respondent and the quality of the answer, can be upvoted and downvoted by the user base. Even if you have questions, try visiting Quora and type it in and see what happens. Again, this can be specific to cycling or products or maintenance and service. This could be about marketing, retail marketing. It's a really great place to show off your expertise and to create attention and generate traffic back to your site. Finally, Reddit. Reddit is a very community-oriented site where people share information and media. But there's also a pretty thriving geographically local set of communities. So your city might have its own what are called subreddits. And I would encourage you to look that up and search your local subreddit for people talking about bikes and cycling. Maybe the people are looking for new trails, for new routes, anything that maybe they're organizing group rides or will again in the future. That's a great place to engage with the community, and the important part there is engaging with the community, not simply, it's not a place to do free advertising. This is not where you go and just say, hey, click here to check out our latest collection of bikes. This is a place where you can find people who share interests with your broader customer base, and that you can be part of that conversation rather than simply running by and throwing out an ad. So I would encourage you to look at those once you feel like you've established your Facebook and Instagram presences. And so what we haven't, except for Facebook Live, haven't really talked about yet is video specifically, and YouTube as a platform and as a place for content. And so this is where, as you saw in my bio, this is sort of my specialty. This is where I've spent a lot of my time and career. So it might naturally seem like I would spend time during this conversation here, but I want you to look at the opportunities that are presented here and consider taking advantage of them. And so, again, according to that bicycle retailer article, 98% of IBDs have a Facebook page, 81% have Instagram, only 23% have a YouTube channel. And that creates this huge gap that you can fill with your content, that you can go in and present information and tell your story in a way that means you're not competing with other bike retailers the way that you might on Facebook and Instagram. And YouTube has built-in organic reach and shareability, things that some other platforms may not easily have. Like Instagram, it's not very easy to reshare things. But with YouTube, people can just send a link to each other, and the level of engagement can be much higher. So again, using YouTube as a strategy to tell your story can be extremely popular. There are people who have made entire careers just on YouTube, and so I'd encourage you to explore that as an option. And how might you do that? So one sort of secret that I share is there's a tool called TubeBuddy that if you've kind of dipped your toe into YouTube and you're like, well, this is pretty heavy lift, this is a lot of work to write all my descriptions and tag videos and things like that, TubeBuddy might be your new best friend. It is a great way to augment your video content with the thumbnails and descriptions and tags that you really need to grow organically. And so I would encourage you to start with YouTube, get to know it, and then figure out maybe TubeBuddy can be an option. There's a free version of TubeBuddy and a low cost paid version, and that can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you in terms of getting your content ready to be shared on YouTube. And a lot of people don't realize that, if YouTube is done well, it can become its own source of revenue rather than being an expense, even a time expense. Content marketing a lot of times comes down to how can we turn this marketing strategy into a revenue producing tool on its own. And so there's advertising options. If you create enough popular content, you grow your audience. You may have people watching from all over the world that just would never be able to shop at your store, but they can become a source of revenue through advertising and eventually pay for itself. And for me, that's always the goal when I recommend content marketing, is to figure out a way to make it pay for itself. Again, we are going to use YouTube and video to have that conversation, connect with customers virtually, digitally, in a way that we can't during this time, and tell our story through that medium. And that might seem difficult. That might seem kind of intimidating, because what about equipment? Do I need to buy a camera? You don't need to buy a camera. Your phone is amazing. Your smartphone has more computing power than NASA's computers up until like 1990. I mean, there's no shortage of computing power in the phone you carry in your pocket every day. And so I'd encourage you to get to know the video camera app, get to know the YouTube app. You might be thinking, okay, I can shoot video on my phone, but then what? It's just a video on my phone. Well, don't even concern yourself with that. Just go live. Go live to YouTube from your phone, put it on a tripod, and just start talking to it. Start sharing your story that way, and then when the live video is over, it's a video on Facebook, and you're done. You've now created I'm sorry, not Facebook, but YouTube. You've now created a YouTube video. And the question I would have is, what's stopping you from doing that multiple times a week? What's stopping you from doing that on a regular basis? It might simply be that you're busy, and I get that. But I believe that now might be the time to consider that as an option. And maybe you don't know what to talk about. So how do I pick topics? How do I create all this content? And I'm telling you, you don't have to worry about that. Documenting your story, what is going on in your store right now, is way more valuable and has a much higher potential than trying to create content out of whole cloth when you're not experienced as a content creator. Documenting your journey is going to prove valuable to a lot of people. And if you want to simply make a video that talks about how you're handling curbside pickup or click and collect, and how your or your e-commerce strategy is keeping your store going while the doors have to be closed, that is really compelling, not only to other IBDs, but to retailers all over the world and to customers all over the world. And so the things that you're doing in real time right now can be documented as part of your store's historical record, and can tell your story to your audience as it's happening. And that might mean set up your phone during a employee meeting that you're trying to come up with new strategies, or obviously we're not revealing company secrets during these, but what are some ways that we can create that content that shows off our strategy processes and our employee stories. Don't just tell your stories, your retail stories as a retailer, but let your employees tell their stories too about where they like to ride, or products that they're enjoying right now, or customer interactions that they've enjoyed. This is all valuable content and can serve to deepen that relationship with your customer base as they get to know you. Again, these relationships built on authenticity, they're built on a deep connection to each other. And as they see your process and see the behind the scenes of how your company operates, or how your store operates, or how you operate as a business owner, that is going to continue to deepen that relationship. That's going to deepen their connection to you and increase the chances of them shopping with you again. So to tie the social media and video together, I wanted to encourage you to use the things you create for those platforms in as many ways as you can. And that might mean when you go live for 5 minutes on YouTube, and you're sharing your story, or you're sharing your operating philosophies for your business, those can be turned into more content. So when you're trying to think, what do I post on Instagram? Well, take a clip from your 5-minute video and share it on a story, or on Instagram, or on Facebook or Twitter. And then when you've done that with as many clips as you can, take a still from the video and overlay the quote and post that. And this might be, hugely influential coming from you as a local business owner, to talk about what it means to be an entrepreneur, that kind of thing. Again, we can create a lot of different content out of that one 5-minute video that was just you maybe talking off the cuff, and you weren't realizing that by the end of it, you're going to have 2 weeks worth of content to post about, if you utilize that content correctly, and or at least well. And finally, there's a marketing term I like to call sawdusting. I say that I didn't come up with it, but the idea is, carpenters and mills would create 2x4s and plywood, and they figured out that they can take the sawdust that just would be swept up and thrown away, and turn it into particle board and pellets for grills and any number of things. And so how can we turn our waste product from all creating all this content into more valuable content? So, examples of this would be deleted scenes from a movie, or, blooper TV shows in the 80s and 90s were one of my favorite things to watch. And all of that was taking the waste product, which would be an actor laughing during a scene they shouldn't have been, and turn it back into more content that can be repurposed and rebroadcast. So look for opportunities to do that as you're creating this content. But again, don't get hung up on that. Look at the content first, and start slowly. Start with that 5-minute video of you just sharing your story about how your store opened and what led you to become an entrepreneur. Next, so we're gonna leave behind sort of the digital, and obviously right now is a really difficult time to have some of the events and activities that you might normally have had, like group rides and charity rides, things like that. So I wanted to share some ways that we've heard have been really beneficial for stores to engage with. One of those things could be taking a GoPro and going and riding through your favorite local trails or your favorite local routes, or if you have a greenway in your town, that kind of thing, and simply share those with your new customers, especially who may not know where to ride the bike they just bought from you. And so these are all events and activities that can be done during a time of social distancing, during a time of sort of isolating together. Another might be group rides, and that's in quotes because it's obviously not a group ride in the traditional sense. It's not a race in the traditional sense, but I've seen 5Ks and 10Ks that are doing staggered starts. So every 30 minutes, a new round of people might start the race, and now they're not starting in a large group that might create some anxiety or create bigger problems, and so they're able to conduct these official races in a more in a more safe way than otherwise might have done. And you might even do a group ride where everyone does it on their own time whenever they like, and so but they can still maybe get credit, however that looks to you, for participating in a group ride. Next is one of my favorite ideas, and I don't want to take credit for it. Credit goes to Megan Guest from QBP. She and I had a conversation last week for our weekly series that she brought up this idea, and I loved it. But have your store create a scavenger hunt for families and for individuals using landmarks around town or commonly seen things around town, and each thing they can take a photo of and post that to their Instagram, tagging you with a hashtag. And that might, if they do all of them in the week, they might get a credit toward a new purchase or some sort of prize, or maybe entered into a drawing for a product that you could offer. This is great for families. Kids love this. Kids go crazy for it, and you can with a group ride or a scavenger hunt ride, have them end up at some point, maybe at the end, at your actual location. Make your location one of these scavenger hunt items that gets posted. This reminds them where you are, where that particular location is, and it keeps them engaged with your brand during that time. And I want to move on because I have taken up a lot of your time already, and I don't want to take up too much more. But these are some really popular ideas that we've been hearing back from retailers and experts that audiences and customers have loved. The last thing is, a lot of retailers are saying, we're in a time of crisis, and how can I be of help? How can I, as a bike retailer, offer help back to the community? And a lot of retailers right now are offering maintenance to frontline healthcare workers. They might be setting up tents at a hospital and inviting healthcare workers to drop their bikes off at the beginning of the shift for service and maintenance, or even repair, if that can be done, and then picked up at the end of their shift. And during a time when some public transit is being paused, that could become really the only way they can get to work, depending on how maybe bike accessible or urban your location is. That might be their primary form of transportation. And so that can be a hugely beneficial way to give back to the community, if that's something you're looking to do. Also, essential workers getting store discounts and bike donation programs, all of those things. Again, look at your community, look at where the need is, and try to come up with a creative way to meet that need within your organization. And then finally, you use your phone and all the methods that we've talked about to document the work that you're doing and sharing that back to your customer base, so they can be proud to be one of your customers, and they can be proud to know that some of the funds that they've used to purchase product from you is going back into the community in some form. And again, that helps deepen relationship. That shows that you are for their community and for their area, and by extension for them. And that can be very powerful, and can be done really well through social media and video. So I have said a lot. I've thrown a lot at you. I do want to have a time where you can ask me questions about any of this that we've talked about, or even other marketing strategies that you might be looking to implement. Rochelle might have to help facilitate that if that's something you're open to. Otherwise, you're welcome to reach out to me directly at Retail Toolkit. My name is Jason Windsor, and my email address is jwindsor, no space or anything, at retailtoolkit.com, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about retail marketing or multimedia marketing or video, anything like that. Rochelle, is there a way we could take questions if we had any, or?
Yeah. There is a question box where people can type in questions if they have any. I don't see any coming in just yet.
Well, that means one of two things. That means either I answered them already or it wasn't compelling enough to ask a question about.
You were thorough. If people
Yeah,
do
I
have
think I was.
questions, we encourage them to email them either to us or to you directly, Jason.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Perfect.
And assuming no others come in, Rochelle, thank you. We are proud partners of the NBDA, and like I said, most of our customers are independent bike dealers, and so it's a part of the outdoor retail market that we care a lot about. Our founder, the founder of our company, is a bike retailer himself, and again, if you'd like to learn more about what we do, you can visit our website, retailtoolkit.com. And I'm sure Rochelle could share with you more information about NBDA's website as well, if you'd like to explore becoming a member.
Absolutely. Go to nbda.com to see our schedule of upcoming webinars. And if you are not a member, we would love if you would join. Again, that's nbda.com. All right. Thank you, Jason. We
Thank
are
you.
going to wrap up. So thanks for being here with us. Thank you for presenting. And thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Rochelle.
Bye.
Bye-bye.